Hi boys and girls. Today for your math lesson you're going to be doing a lot of problem solving. So if you remember back to when we were in class together, every so often we had those math problems and they gave us a bunch of clues and we had to use what we have been learning to solve those clues. So today's lesson is just like that, just with bigger numbers since you've been subtracting in the hundreds now. So I couldn't really find any matching math games today for exactly what we were learning, so I decided to give you guys a practice instead. So this clue, or this story says, your friend wants you to guess how many pennies she has in her piggy bank. She tells you the following clues. The first clue is, I have between 400 and 500 pennies. Clue number 2 says, I have an even number of pennies. And clue number 3 says the number of pennies is the sum of these two numbers, of two of these numbers. We have the choices of 382, 126, 272, 193, and 356. So that's a lot of clues to figure out which two numbers add up to show how many pennies she has. So let's do it slowly together. Let's look at number 1. I have between 400 and 500 pennies. Think about our clue words that we've been learning. What is a big clue word in that sentence? I do notice the two numbers. We talked about how numbers are important. 400 and 500. And what's that special word that tells us about those two numbers? Good, between. Think about what between means. In between 400 and 500. Do you think it could be 300 then? No, because 300 is less than 400. Do you think the number could be, 600, 700, or 800? No, because between is in between these two numbers and those numbers would be way too big. So let's go to clue number 2. I have an even number of pennies. What clue words do you see in that sentence? Even number, there's another clue. Okay, so we know that the number has to be in between 400 and 500 and that it has to be even. Do you guys remember those special numbers that are the even numbers? They're always in the ones place. So we have 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So in the ones place, if you have any of those numbers, you know that you're going to end up with an even number. So let's remember those. All right, clue number 3 says, the number of pennies is the sum, that's a special word, of these two numbers. What does sum mean? Is it for addition, subtraction? Which one? Right, it's for addition. So that means we have to add some of these numbers together and the answer will be how many pennies she has in the piggy bank. Now let's think before we just start adding some numbers up. We don't want it to be bigger than 500, right? Because that won't match the clues. If I look over here, I have the choice of 382 and 356. What do you think would happen if you add up those numbers? Let's look at the hundreds place for this one. We have 356 plus 382, and before I even add those up, we know that 3 plus 3 is 6. But since it's at the hundreds place, I know that 300 plus 300 is 600, and we didn't even add our tens and our ones yet, so that would be way too big. So let's try to think of numbers that won't be too big or too small. So let's see. Why don't you guys go ahead and start adding up some of those numbers. You can pause the video.